Hello everyone and welcome back to the Wolfpack. Now to be fair, if you haven't seen this video back in 2021 when I was at my last studio, I think my shelf of shame was much larger than it is right now.
Future Tim here, hello, editing in progress. And what I've realized is if you look back here to this old video,
Street Masters, the entire collection.
my shelf of shame is almost exactly the same size and like 80% of them are the same games.
So I thought I made a major dent on my collection, which I did, but it feels like when I put everything on the table that it's much more than I had anticipated when filming this video. It actually looks pretty bad. Like, look at that, there's so many games. So we're actually gonna go through each game one by one today, and we're gonna finish up, wrap up from yesterday's video, which was the reorganization video where I put all my games back up on the shelf in a different order, but we're gonna put them back. We're gonna try to fit everything here. We're gonna try to fit everything on the shelves, and hopefully there is some empty space, because if not, I'm gonna do some instant culling, because I can't live like this. All right, for the must stays, first off, I think this is the biggest one on the table. Ugh. Tidal Blades Part 1. Now there was a second part of the campaign. I didn't back it yet because I didn't even experience Part 1 yet. So this game, one of the most beautiful games in my collection, definitely gonna stay. To be honest, the artwork, the storytelling, even some of the lore, some of the character backgrounds, the asymmetry was a huge hook for me. That's why I definitely backed this game. But I need to play it ASAP. So this is going to be high up on the priority list. Back on the shelf it goes. Okay, along with Angler's Cove, the expansion. Now, number 2, this was more recent in my collection, Raiders of the North Sea and Empires of the North. This one was recommended to me by Sam, and I think he recommended Empires of the North, but I saw of the North for 2 titles, so I just ended up getting both. And this was also on sale too, so that was that. Another big box game, Sonic. The more I try to open this and the more I try to get it played, the more I'm kind of scared to be let down by the gameplay. So I know it's a really simple game. I like Sonic and I backed it mostly because of the nostalgia, and the minis of course looked amazing. I'm gonna mention this a lot in my upcoming videos when I review some older games, because I was a different consumer back then when I was backing these games. This is definitely pre-experienced Tim, for lack of a better word, the lack of a better term. Definitely pre-experienced board game consumer. Number 4 is Suburbia. Haven't gotten this one played mostly because of how the inserts came. It's kind of disheveled, but the whole lighthouse light up thing looked really cool. And I know that it's a classic, or at least a lot of people rave about this game, so that's why I backed this one. Number 5, ooh, this is one of my favorites. Also a recent purchase, Aquatica, the Cold Waters expansion. Now, as I'm going through all these games, let me know in the comments below which one you want to see played first, or at least filmed first for the channel. So let me know. Cold Waters, I know a lot of people are asking about it. I'm definitely gonna get to this very soon. Number 6, I love this one again for the artwork. I'm so bad with backing games because of strictly artwork, especially back then. A little bit different now. Again, I mentioned this time and time again, but I love the artwork in this one. It was like a plain white background with some really epic warrior type art, and I love that. So this is Elo Darkness. It was a MOBA game. It was a MOBA in tabletop form. I think it came around the same time as Sky Tier. So hopefully you can get this one played too. You know what's interesting? I haven't heard a single thing about Elo Darkness, so we'll see how that one goes. Next up, the one I'm most afraid to play. I only showed this game, Street Fighter, in a TikTok or Instagram reel that I made. You can check it out here. But when I made that, it was the only time I ever opened this game, and I'm so afraid of playing it because I heard so many bad things about it and how it's purely content, like no substance at all, which is really unfortunate because it's one of my favorite IPs. Like, I'm hoping Mortal Kombat comes into tabletop form, but it's almost, it would be anticlimactic to have all this build up for such a beautiful game with an amazing IP to have lackluster gameplay. That's why I've avoided playing Street Fighter specifically. Okay, now the one closest to Street Fighter, Street Masters. If any of you have played Street Masters, let me know in the comments, because I'm debating about keeping this one versus the other one. I, of course, wanted to keep Street Fighter strictly for the IP, but I heard the gameplay for Street Masters was pretty good. Let me know if this is worth it. If not, I'm gonna instantly cull this based on your feedback, because I don't know if I wanna. I usually give every game a chance, but there's a ton of space that this game would save. I also don't really have a group to play this with. Like, we have a good amount of arena combat games already, and this one, depending on how the rulebook is written, how easy it is, how accessible it is to play, may stay, but it takes up so much room. I don't know if it's worth it. We'll see. Okay, I said Tidal Blades was up there among the priority list of games to be played. Right now, I'm actually playing through Imperium Classics. Again, because of Sam, he recommended that game to me too. But I really need to get into Zombicide Green Horde. I've never played any of the Zombicide. I, of course, did not back the most recent Zombicide with Marvel because we all know how that went. But with the Green Horde box, I think this is one of the first games that I backed as a Kickstarter board game backer. And it does have a solo mode, so I think I'm gonna play this one right after Imperium Classics to see how that goes, because this is another huge amount of space that I would save if I did not like this game. If you like Zombicide Green Horde, should I keep it? Should I sell it? Okay, next up, Miso Relaunch. This one seems pretty heavy to get into. I love the theme and all of the crazy looking miniatures. Like, there's this crazy snake miniature and stuff in there that I was dying to take photos of when I was really into creative board game photography. I strictly got it because of that one miniature. It looked awesome. And I love the theme too. But again, this is interesting because this is another game that I really didn't hear much about either. But it looks fantastic, and I'm 100% gonna give this one a shot before putting it in the discard pile. Now, moving on to number here, Brass Birmingham, one of the best board game covers I have ever seen. I did have Lancashire. If you saw my previous vlog, long story short, my car ran over it, or I ran over it with my car, or it fell off the top of my car and someone else ran over it. But without Lancashire, I at least have Birmingham still. Definitely want to try this one out. Everyone raves about this game. Looks beautiful. Oh, also the 3D plastic obstacles. This is one other big reason why I've kept Zombicide, because of how cool the terrain looks. Like, look at this. Let me show you how awesome. Like, I've never had a game that has moss walls and barricades and stuff. It's so freaking cool. Hopefully it's worth the gameplay. I feel like my interest for miniatures have definitely dampened a lot. But with how much I love tokens and chips, that's definitely a huge decider in whether or not I back games lately too, if I'm talking strictly about the physical aspect of it. I really did want to back the one by Dungeonology, Luda Studios. They came up with like the hacker one, and the miniatures in that game looked freaking amazing. I've never seen miniatures blended in with different colors, and it was like a different color, acrylic blue, purple, and it looked like they were actually spewing out fireballs or whatever that they were posed with. Point being, I'm not as big as minis now, but tokens, like really nice upgraded tokens, I'm like huge on. And terrain. Terrain's probably my number one thing right now, but there's no game that implements terrain nowadays. Strictly for board game, because I know wargaming is all about having those immersive terrain. Okay, now more recently that I purchased, I was going to have like a 7-player group gameplay, which is why I bought Flourish. But the gameplay seems kind of okay for me. I think especially after playing Everdell, it kind of seemed a little bit too basic, but I didn't really have any other options for 7-player gameplay. That wasn't a party game at least. And most recently from my Kickstarters, Cactus Town. This one looks incredibly fun. This one, each player has their own objectives and special actions that can be programmed in reverse order. Cactus Town, aside from the fun cartoony artwork and the beautiful cover, it just looked like a really light-hearted family game that I could introduce my sister-in-law to. That's why I backed Cactus Town. And on top of that, the rulebook for this is super short. That's always nice to see. Dungeonology, again, Ludus Magnus Studios have like some of the best artwork and minis that I've ever seen. Strictly based on looks for this one. I just hope that it's not fully cooperative because, again, I don't really play fully cooperative games, but it looks fun. It looks like it's something where it was like an RPG builder where you can have different asymmetric characters and kind of level up as you go. Like, just look at the back. Doesn't that look beautiful? See? Okay, last up, this was sent to me for review and hopefully content later on. This is Seize the Bean. And what's really nice is that Seize the Bean can be played with 5 to 6 players. I've been looking for other alternative 5 to 6 player options. Also on my Shelf of Shame list, but this was most recently added. So yeah, the biggest commitment I'm making as of today doesn't count the games that are coming in, like Marvel Dice Throne and possibly Innis. I made a deal, or I put in a offer for Innis on eBay. Aside from those two, and Creature Comforts, which are all coming in, that is my Shelf of Shame. It 100% decreased from last time. Last time was wild. I had like 4 boxes worth of containers, like those huge Costco containers that I had, full of games that I never played. So I think I got it down to 2 now of those boxes, even though it seemed like a lot on camera. But I also have a couple more I didn't mention on my shelf, so let me go ahead and bring you over here. So check out my newly organized shelf, somewhat organized. I have, this is also unplayed too, Phantom Inc. I just got that in. This is a party game. It's going to be pretty cool with like team-based deduction. But so far I have my Everdell cartoony-ish games here on this shelf, and then on the right side is like Battle and Brass, kind of random. I wanted it to start off as combat, but I didn't have that many combat games as I expected, and if I did, they're in other parts of the shelf. Have my Villainous shelf here, along with some games from the Op, and then we have my Leader game shelf. Here are like my 2-player games, and on the bottom are more combat games. Actually, these are all combat-oriented games, which is awesome. Moving on to the second one, all designated to Marvel United. Yes, I have a problem. I've acknowledged it. And over here, our Stonemaier shelf on the bottom 2 shelves. In the middle, we have Vindication, Cerebria, Grim Forest. I just wish I categorized it better so that way, like, see these 3 games, drastically different. Grim Forest needs a better spot because it does not go anywhere near these heavy games. And on shelf number 3, we got our dungeon crawlers and solo games-ish on the bottom shelf. Lords of Hellas has pretty much its own shelf over there, along with Aquatica and Ashes. We have more solo games with Final Girl over here. I initially wanted this to be like tile placement games, but we're gonna put Final Frontier games because I do have a couple more games coming from them on this shelf, and maybe we'll separate these. We have Thundergriff games, and then the bigger box games that I'm gonna put sideways all along this shelf. Haven't figured out what to put up there yet, along with up there, so I definitely have a lot of room. And yeah, need a home for these games once they're played and figured out. I have Ankh, Return to Dark Tower, Street Fighter over here. Clash of Rage also is another unplayed game. I'm really debating about that. I kind of read through the manual about the battle system in there. I'm not too excited about it, so that might just be an instant go. We'll see. The thing about Marvel Champions is that I now have a huge storage system, which will come up in another video. So I don't know if I should keep these boxes or not. It would look how much room it would save if I didn't have any of these boxes, but I love the artwork and to just have them displayed here. It looks really nice. I have other client videos that I've done on the right side. Suburbia is here. Skybound also sent me the bakery game, and I also have the super nice overproduced wooden game over there. That one is called Valda. So the chest itself, super nice, but I don't think it matches with the materials inside. What's unfortunate about this game is that the outside doesn't match the inside at all. Like, this is just straight up printer paper on Valda. The color scheme doesn't match with like this aged, old, rustic wood, so there's that. But yeah, that's pretty much my updated shelf now. A lot cleaner, more organized than it was before at least. Anyways, that's my little rant about why I'm not buying any more games, aside from the 4 that I mentioned. I got rid of a bunch. And I'm also getting some ready for giveaways too for 20K. But these next few weeks, I am going to make some damage into my Shelf of Shame. I'm gonna try really hard to hopefully finish my Shelf of Shame and have no games left unplayed by the end of summer. That's my goal. But anyways, thanks for hanging out with me as I reorganize my life. So I get ready for some more content and some more commercials coming up soon. So appreciate you all hanging out with me, and I will see you all very soon.